Hey guys, this is Russ from Multiverse Nerds. Now we cover a lot in our series, but one thing that I've really been wanting to talk about is a passion of mine, and that's role-playing games. Mostly D20 system. I've played some Fudge system, but D20 is definitely where my heart is at. And I wanted to talk to you guys today because I know that there's a lot of interest out there for new players, specifically new DMs. Now, if you're a seasoned vet, this video is not really going to help you, but if you've never played before, or you've never DM'd before but you're interested in trying, I've got 8 great tips for you guys to get yourself started. Tip 1 is to start with one-shots. If you don't know what a one-shot is basically a game start to finish, pre-written for you. It's got everything from your NPCs, your non-playable characters. It's got their personalities. It's got their stats. It's got your battles pre-written for you. And it has direction and atmosphere for you to present to your players. It's a really great way to not only learn how to DM and have one written for you, but it also provides kind of a rundown of how a game can be written. You know, new DMs generally, they have some great ideas and they know how to jot them down, but they don't know how to streamline it so that when they're all around the table, they've got all their notes in specific order as the game progresses. Reading through a one-shot will definitely help you and give you a template to start with for writing your own in the future. Tip 2 is the less info that you present to the players, the better. And this specifically has to do with environments or characteristics, atmospheres, things like that. You don't need to sit down game 1 and have your entire world built before the game's even started. Because I know that's going to put a lot of pressure on you as a DM, and it's also going to put a lot of pressure on your players because they're going to feel like they have to remember everything you just went over. So a great tip for that is to only present to them what you have to for that specific game. A world can be built through consecutive games as long as you take side notes for where your towns are located, or geographical regions, if you have a desert and then a swamp and a forest, so on and so forth. You can build the world literally as the campaign progresses. You don't have to build it all in one night or all before the game starts. And then my third tip is to simplify the rules. You do not have to follow all of the rules word for word. In fact, if you play Pathfinder, which is generally the game that I prefer, it specifically states in the core rulebook that you do not have to follow these rules to the T. And I don't think a lot of newer DMs or people who are getting into the game recognize that and follow it. And specifically for me, I'll give you an example. I do not specifically follow the rules to grappling. Just because any player will tell you one of the biggest downfalls to a game is the game immediately stopping and going into a 45-minute battle over what the rule is specifically for grappling or for being dazed or for being knocked unconscious. So, you know, if you're reading through the rule book and something just seems way over your head or way too hard to remember, then streamline it. And, you know, the way I streamline grappling is it's a D20 struggle every round as long as they're grappled. And then I have them perform a strength check to power out of it. Or if they're a rogue or a dexterity-based class, then I have them do a dexterity check to see if they can slide out from under it or something like that. It makes it so much easier, and it does not stop the game. And I promise you, your players are not going to argue with you over a rule streamline because they rather you DM than they DM. Tip number 4, play with friends. One of the hardest things for a new DM to do is to get into the role of DMing. You know, having 3 or 4 people sitting around a table, hinging on every word that you have to say. It's even harder to do it if you're playing with new people or people you've never met. It can be daunting, to be honest. So playing with friends and people you know is extremely helpful and viable, because not only will they be more willing for you to fudge rules, or hey, I messed something up, hey dude, it's no big deal, whatever. Now if you don't have enough people that you know who are interested in playing, you know, you may have to bring in a new player or a new group. But the more people you have playing that you know, the more comfortable you're going to feel, and the more fun overall everyone's going to have. Tip number 5 is be flexible. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in a game where I've written the party to go one way, and they just completely blindside me and want to do something totally different. The golden rule to new DMs, or DMs in general to be honest, is to never tell the party no. If the party wants to go break a captive out of prison and you're wanting them to go find a artifact in a dungeon somewhere, don't tell them no. Because as a party acting out this adventure, what is it that you can tell them that specifically says, no, you can't go do that because I was lazy and didn't write anything for that. You have to go do this. Be flexible with it. If they want to go off and do this, that's fine. Anything can happen, and that's the power that the DM has. Yeah, hey, yeah, you guys go after the captive in the prison. You know, she's in a jail locked away over on a mountaintop. It'll take you about 3 days to travel there. Well, guess what? You're not going to do it all in a day. So you guys stop for the night, set up camp. All of a sudden, in the middle of the night, you're ransacked by orcs. Orcs steal something, and just so happens these orcs live in that cave where that artifact just happens to be. You can defer the party any way you want to by being creative and being flexible. My sixth tip is to make your games your own. And this kind of harks back to using one-shots. Just because you use a one-shot does not mean you are held to the standards of only using everything in that book. One of the things that I notoriously do in my campaigns is I name all of my characters after DC comic book characters. My first campaign that I ever wrote, its main antagonist was named Kentius Clark. I'm wearing a Superman shirt, guys. It's not hard. And he had a Minotaur underling named Abensur. Any of you guys follow Green Lantern, yeah, you know where I'm coming from. So take some interest in what it is that you're presenting. Have some fun with it. As the DM, you are not just moderating the player's fun. You need to have fun too, or else it's just going to get daunting and boring, and it's going to feel like you're doing a job. So change some names around to things that you like, to topics that you enjoy. Change some of the settings. If there's nothing specific to the setting, a desert can easily be a forest, or a mountain range, or the bottom of the ocean if you want to really get creative. You are not held to any specific rules or settings. You can make them up as you go along, and you can be creative. So be creative. My seventh tip is to not make your players invest too much into the game. And I mean that both with rules, with finances. You don't want your players walking in to the first game they've ever played and you rip out this backpack with like 9 books in it, stack all 9 books on the table and go, all right guys, let's go. You are going to absolutely overwhelm these people. And for new players breaking into the game, that's the last thing you want to do. My golden rule is, for every campaign that I run, they only need the core rulebook. That's it. If there's anything from the Advanced Player's Guide or one of the other guides, like spell dueling, if that's something you want to implement, you can do that and explain it as you go along. The players don't have to come into the game knowing A to Z everything from every book. In fact, I would say that as a DM, it really should be more that you have an idea of what the rules are that you want to use more so than the players. And as a DM, I only ever use the core rulebook. I generally don't pull information from the other books unless I want to specifically reference something or something of that nature. I don't like to overwhelm players. And the better thing about that is the less the players have to realize, the quicker you guys can game, the less struggle it is to argue rules, because if they only know the core rule book and you want to use something from one of the other rule books, they're obviously not going to argue you because they have no idea what you're talking about. They're just going to go along with what you say, and it's so much easier to streamline the game. No hiccups, no issues, nothing like that. And then my 8th and final tip is to start from the beginning. No new player, I should say, wants to come into a campaign and have to build a level 10 character, or a level 15 character, or whatnot. Start from the very beginning. Help them build a level 1. And I want to stress that actually. As a DM, help your new players build a character. Be with them when they build a character. Because listening to them go over ideas of what their character is, what their history is, you can adapt a lot of that to your campaign. Say someone builds a barbarian whose family was murdered by a rampaging group of orcs. Well, say that barbarian's family had a necklace or something that they left with the character, and the character says, hey, I've worn this forever, and it's something to remember my family by. Hey, you know what? Just so happens you guys go into a town, and you, barbarian, see that same necklace around someone else's neck. That immediately pulls that player into the game and makes them feel a part of it. And nothing feels better as a DM than players legitimately being excited about going down a new route or discovering something that has everything to do specifically with them. It kind of puts the spotlight on the player, and you as a DM really get to see that player get involved, and it just makes everything more fun. Well guys, that's going to do it for me. If you like what you saw, as always, go to multiversenerds.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.